Hi.
Hello.
Happy Monday. Welcome back to Oddvice. My name is Alex Coate.
And I'm Kristen McAtee. And off camera right now is very upset, a little
She's
puppy.
really sad.
Because we took away her bone. Oh my God, look at her. She's like looking at me too.
No, she fully is aware that. So I hit the bone.
You just said the word.
Oh yeah, I hit the bone because I tried to curb it before
we started recording.
Because usually it's like clockwork. We'll start recording and she'll be like, "Oh, gotta go find my bone now." And as you all know, I have a one-track brain, so if she's chewing on her bone, it's really loud and like it's a sharp noise, so it's really distracting for me at least.
I mean, it also just picks up on audio.
Right, it picks up on audio. It's just she can't be chewing on her bone. So I hit it before. Oh, it's not looking too hot for you, Link.
I'm so sorry.
We hit it, and I actually hit it. If you can see, if you're watching on visual, she's on Kristen's side, and I hit it behind Kristen, so she knows where it is.
She's my smart girl.
She's very smart.
I'm sorry, babe. But on the bright side, tonight she had cabbage for her first time.
And she loves it.
And she really likes cabbage. So if you ever see Link in public, offer her cabbage and she will really like it.
Oh.
Hi, babe. Yeah, she's doing really well though, guys. other than the BONE sitch, her ear, Link, look at the camera. Look at the camera. You can kind of see. Oh, it's cut off. It's definitely floppy, but it has no fluid left. We did rebuild.
I'm so glad you held off on making any decisions for surgeries and everything.
Me too. Oh my God, you are so fucking cute. Yeah, my baby. Ew. I'm really just soaking up my time with Link right now too, because by the time you guys listen to this episode, we'll actually probably both be in LA, and I'm about to leave for LA for over 2 weeks. So I don't have my little girl, and that's always hard. It's always hard to leave the dog. Does not get easier. I always thought it was something that was only hard when she was a puppy, but she's like a self-sustaining, well, not self-sustaining, but she's an adult dog, and I'm still like, I'm sorry, I'll be right back.
It probably passes by in 5 minutes for her.
Right. You hear that all the time. People saying the time for dogs doesn't exist. They don't know how long you've been gone. But then I've also heard they know how long you've been gone because they gauge it off when your scent starts disappearing around them. But that's hard for it to happen in our own house. Right. I feel like it's gonna smell like me. But I don't know. Also, how do we know?
We'll never know.
Who's how did whoever figure that out? Did you, what type of test is
what
that?
fires off in the brain for you to be like, oh, that's this happening?
Right. That's so specific for you to claim when it's not even a human brain.
The studies and data that you hear about different cat meows and what the different cat meows mean. How do you really know?
You don't.
How
do we really
know
anything?
Please debunk us.
I mean, please. I would love to be 100% sure that she's not tripping when I leave.
Yeah.
Please. But I just don't believe it.
Where are the facts?
Show me the car facts. In other news, if you listen to our last episode, it was our whole kind of summary of our London trip. And if you were watching visual and it just randomly went out on you, because we got DMs of people being like, I was literally in the middle of watching the visual asset and it's just gone because we took it down and had to re-upload and blur out my crotch.
Yeah, her kuka was out.
It was completely out. There's a line.
And you didn't feel it is what I'm tripping about.
Well, I was sitting like this and I had my sweater over my knees.
Right.
But it just
and if it creeps up ever so much,
which it did,
right?
It's showing. I mean, yeah, my knees are together, but you could still my shins aren't together. I have bow legs, so there was a little crevice for you to look through, and it wasn't skin, but it was almost. It was the side of my vagina.
Yeah.
I was gonna say kukon. I was like, it's a vagina.
I'm surprised it didn't get flagged beforehand by YouTube. Is it too small or?
It might have been not detectable. It was a little small and shadowed, but
right.
I mean, and usually I don't give a fuck about that shit. I've had videos, I won't say which one, but it's an Easter egg you can go find where my nipples fully shown for a sec.
Wow.
And YouTube didn't flag it, but because it was for a sec, and it's
right.
as I'm moving,
and it's that could be anything. That could be armpit.
Sure.
Or something, you
right.
know?
Yeah. I wonder how accurate their tech is to actually detect.
To like match what body part it is.
Right. But little things like that, like sometimes I don't care enough to like take it down. But this, like, it wasn't just like I resituated for a second, you got like a flash of it. It was the last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And you, like, if you were somebody who watched the original version, you saw it. Like, it was just down the barrel looking at you. It was looking at you when you're listening to our stories. So we took it down.
So more of the story, we're no longer going to sit like that.
And if I am, I'm going to, that's why I wore pants today. I'm just
Good.
wearing OG pants. And you can't see anything unless you have x-ray vision. That's cool.
And if you have x-ray vision, why are you watching this podcast?
Or are you looking through this wall?
Can you see my room?
Is it clean?
Duh.
Right.
So we're actually recording this. You guys are listening on a Monday, presumably, but we're recording this on the Thursday before. Usually we record on Saturdays, as some of you might know, but we're recording this a little bit early because Kristen is flying to LA on Saturday and I'm going to have the house to myself.
Are you going to throw a party?
No, I'm not going to throw a party, but I've been thinking a lot about...
You're going to jump on my bed?
Probably. It's funny because your bed is my bed. Like, we have the same bed.
Right, yeah. Like this.
Actually, no, yours is... Yeah, yours is different.
You
consistency.
take it for a spin.
I think I'm going to...
Yeah, go ahead. I literally, like, Link will jump with you.
Oh, she will.
She'll be so happy.
No, she'll sit there like
She'll be
super awkward.
Like mad at you. She'll be like, my mom's bed. Why are you jumping on?
No, but I've been thinking a lot about the time I want to spend those 3 or 4 days when I'm here alone, because
I was going to ask.
the last time I was here alone, I didn't like make good use of it. I felt alone and I don't want to do that this weekend. I kind of want to like take advantage of, I don't know. It's not much different that you're going to be gone because like we do have very independent like days.
Sure.
But I'm not going to be able to like sit down and like watch our shows that we watch.
Too.
Yes, in the presence.
That was
like,
a big one for me when you left for a minute.
Right.
It's literally just not having a human in here.
Yep.
Like I started talking out loud to Link and I was like, she's not saying anything back.
Oh.
But I mean, that was weeks.
And yeah, that was like
so
2
long.
weeks.
You're going to be 4 days.
Yeah, it's 4 days. And I don't want to, it's a weekend. So I could very easily,
so nice
it's going to be so nice outside, but I could very easily just like sit at home and do nothing, but I really don't want to do that. So I've like sprinkled a few things throughout my weekend that I'm going to do.
What is it?
Okay, you guys want to hear?
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Do you guys want to comment down below?
Comment down below. Saturday, I'm going to this store in Brooklyn called Friends.
Right.
And it's this like really cool, I'm sure you've seen it on TikTok. It's this really cool like novelty store where they have a whole bunch of little gifts. And Bree, if you're listening, fast forward.
Bree, do not listen. Seriously, like
don't
click
listen.
out right now, Bree.
Click out right now.
Hold on, just give her a sec.
I'll give you a sec. Okay. Hopefully Bree's gone. But if you don't know, Bree's birthday is next week, and that's why we're going to LA, is because us 4 girls are spending the week in Joshua Tree. And it is Bree's 28th birthday.
On the 13th.
On the 13th. And we're all getting Bree 9 items. So that amounts to 27 birthday presents. And they're little things.
Yeah,
like,
we're not like, it's not like hella big things.
Nothing crazy. Like nail polish, sunglasses, little shit like that.
Right.
So I'm going to go to the store and hopefully find like a whole bunch of cute shit for her there. I am going to do like a little bit of shopping for myself for Joshua Tree. I'm going to go to Omakase.
Do you know what place?
I want to do Sushi by Bao because we had done it and it's so fucking good, but I also want to try somewhere new. So I'm still undecided, but I know I'm going to take myself out to like a really nice dinner on Saturday. Sunday, I have just like errands to run. So I'm going to go do that.
Like what errands?
I need to go tan. I have, some things I need to return.
What do you need to return?
An ASOS package, an
What'd
Amazon.
You get?
Okay.
What's your order number?
You're making this a little overwhelming for me.
Okay, errands Sunday.
I'm errands on Sunday. Monday, back to my like normal work schedule, but it's also supposed to be nice outside. So I'm going to go work at a cafe, and I have a lot of meetings on Mondays. So that's perfect. And then Tuesday is all packing and getting ready. Right. So I've filled each of my days.
Good. That's so important. I felt that too when you left. Like I at first I was just like, oh, I'm just sitting in the house, and then I was like, no, I need to like get out every single day. So
yeah,
I'm glad that you're making it a point to do that.
Oh, and Sunday I forgot to mention, if you are on Patreon and you're on the Hella tier, we have our Zoom call Sunday, which is also Easter.
Oh yeah,
which totally slipped our mind. I used to celebrate Easter when I was a little sissy Wawa baby.
Yeah,
but
for sure, because I was a stupid little baby Wawa, sissy Wawa baby that only listened to her parents.
Oh, you're not gonna be here. I was gonna say, should we have an egg hunt?
Egg hunt? But like,
no. So when we started to get like a little older, when we were in like our teens, and my cousins were still little, they would hide. My parents and my aunt and uncle would hide Easter eggs that had like $100 bills in them, or like a 20. One had 100.
Jesus.
A couple had like 5s.
That's cool.
And like 20s for the big kids.
Oh my god, you guap.
Yeah. I think one year I walked away with probably like $25.
That's crazy though. Like at that age, I feel like that's so much.
Yeah.
We definitely did egg hunts, but I think my favorite part was always like dyeing the eggs, because that like we would dye them, let them dry, and then go hide them. And I would always love, that was a big activity I really loved to do with my grandma, because she was so artsy, and she would like hand paint them. Like she wouldn't even use the dye shit. Like she was hand painting and like use like like not just like normal colors. Like she was like mixing pastels, and like you would turn the egg.
She had a vision for it.
Fully. You would turn the egg, it'd be like a whole story.
Wow.
Around the egg. It was incredible. And she was just like, and it wasn't like, oh, leave grandma alone, she's focused. Like she would just do it throughout the day, and then all of a sudden you'd look at her finished product and be like, you did this today? She's like, yeah. She's just hella high, like gin and tonic. So Easter reminds me of that, but as far as like what it's about, I do not celebrate that. No. Personally,
and we're just joshing. If you do, you're not a sissy Wawa baby.
Yeah, you're not a sissy Wawa baby, but
take a joke.
If you still get Easter baskets, you're sissy Wawa baby.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. New rules. If you're over,
yeah, let's give a bracket.
I'll say if you're over 19 and you still get an Easter basket, sissy Wawa.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just getting sour here at this point. Cause I'm like, I didn't fucking get one. Like, you can't get one. But okay.
Be a little lenient.
Yeah. 19.
If you're an adult, unless it's like this cute thing you do with your partner, and like,
sure.
If you get one from your parents.
That's it. If you get one from your parents and you're over 19, see, well, baby.
Okay, let's do song of the day. And what are you wearing? Do you want to go first?
I'm wearing oh my God. I'm Teddy Fresh out right now. I'm wearing Teddy Fresh socks and Teddy Fresh sweats. And this is, I think,
White Fox?
No, this is a pink, Victoria's Secret pink.
Oh.
It was like $5.
I think I know when you got that.
Yeah, we were all together. Oh, and then my beanie. This is Broad Street Oyster. It's fucking blew up now. Do you notice it's fully blown up on TikTok?
No.
And they're opening a location in the city, San Francisco.
Good for them.
Good for them, but I'm also kind of mad.
Yeah.
So this is a restaurant.
Chris and Alex.
Right. Chris and Alex are the owners, and they're friends. And we discovered them. It was literally like one day. It was after lockdown, but it was before restaurants opened back up.
It was like that first wave.
Yeah, where some people were trying it. Some people were just doing to-go orders.
Yep.
Like it was that type of vibe. It's out in Malibu. We were obviously living in LA at the time. And it has a full like drive-up window situation. So we were super comfortable doing it. And one day, we might have been like hungover or something. I was like, guys, I want a lobster roll. And I went on Yelp. It was like lobster roll near me. It popped up. It had like, at the time, I feel like I had like 50 reviews, 4.5 stars, which is good. But now it's probably like thousands.
It got popping like 4 Malibu locals.
Yes.
Like I feel like it was your go-to stop if you were like going to the beach.
Yeah.
Or naturally shopped at that Whole Foods that was around the corner.
Right. So we went out there, me, Alex, and Leanna, and we were like, holy fuck, this is the best place ever.
Fire.
And up until literally a few weekends before we moved, we went ever so often. It was like always our Sunday vibe when we just wanted to like get in the car, drive, listen to music, like those type of drives with your friends where you're not even talking to each other either. Like we were all just like, kind of in our own.
You're either silent or
like
screaming music.
Right, exactly. And it's the best restaurant ever, the best oysters, the best seafood. I always say, even if you're somebody who isn't fond of seafood, go here, give it a chance. The quality of their seafood will change your mind. I don't doubt it at all.
So good.
So yeah, there's that.
Oh, I am wearing my Ariana Grande Thank You Next crew neck, which I don't wear enough.
I thought it was sweetener.
No, Thank You Next.
Both.
Oh, it's both because she combined the tours.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. Because she dropped the album so close together.
That would have been so cool to go on that.
No, it makes me really sad. Well, we saw her at Coachella.
Yeah, but she really wasn't that good at Coachella.
You weren't a big fan.
No, but like the production where when I see videos of this tour,
yeah,
gorgeous.
Yeah,
whatever. Lost op. I'm not even tripping.
So yeah, I'm wearing this and then just like biker shorts and socks.
No show socks.
No shows.
No shoes.
My ankles were extra sensitive today. So while you find your song, I'll do my song first because mine came up on some random shuffle and it's called Oxford Circus.
Whoa.
Yeah. And look at the
it's
album.
Literally the underground.
Yep.
Wow.
And I was like, it came up probably like a couple days after we got home.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's Oxford Circus by Frex. And you know what? It came up and I noticed the cover art. Obviously looked familiar because I had seen it so much the week before. And I was dozing off and I saw it. I was like, oh, wow. And I saved it immediately. And then I fell asleep halfway through the song.
I didn't
even finish the song and I haven't listened to it since. So I hope it's good.
I couldn't imagine falling asleep halfway through a song.
Really? Oh, I do
30 seconds?
I do all the time.
Okay, my song of the day is going to be Dime Back by Mick Gee, MK.GEE.
McGee.
Whenever I read the G's, sometimes I'm like, a J or a G? Like,
oh, yeah.
I always have to really
It could
focus.
It could be anything.
J.
It could be either of them.
G.
But
like when I look at the letter, I'm like, how do I pronounce this one? Just a little mix up in the brain. Okay, before we get into today's episode, we're going to take a quick break for our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by ZocDoc, and ZocDoc is an amazing resource where you can go and find doctors in all types of professions and also look at reviews and pictures, which is amazing. And then you can also book your appointments through the app. You don't have to call the doctor anymore, people.
It's actually so nice. I was actually on the app today because I have an appointment that I was supposed to go to, but I'm actually going to be in Joshua Tree. And I remembered super last minute. So I was like, fuck, I need to reschedule this. Usually you'd have to call the doctor, figure out the schedule, figure out a best way to do it. But no, I just went on the ZocDoc app. I found my appointment that was already in my upcoming tab.
Yeah.
And then I clicked on it, changed the date, and I got a refresh. I got a confirmation email and everything.
That's
it was
so
nice. Easy. It was so convenient. It literally took 3 seconds.
There's nothing worse when you're trying to reschedule something and it's like, you get a pop-up. It's like, please call, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
no, I don't want to.
I don't want to.
I'd rather pay the $25 fee from some random doctor's office
than call you. I'd rather be a no-show than call you. Yeah, when finding a new doctor, whether it's an eye doctor or a gynecologist or whatever, I'm so adamant on making sure in their reviews, how did they treat people? And I don't want to just necessarily read a review that's oh, I was healed, blah, blah, blah. I want to know, what was your experience in the waiting room?
Yeah.
And then once you went back there, did they hella rush you and just make you feel like a patient on a conveyor belt? That's so important to me. And without ZocDoc, without looking at these reviews, it's obviously really hard to know that. So I love this resource.
Again, ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient reviewed, take your insurance, are available when you need them, and treat almost every condition under the sun.
No more doctor roulette scouring the internet for questionable reviews. With ZocDoc, you have a trusted guide to lead you to a medical professional that works for you. And if you guys want to check them out, go to ZocDoc.com/Oddvice and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours.
That's ZocDoc.com/Oddvice. ZocDoc.com/Oddvice. Thanks, ZocDoc.
Okay, so for today's episode, you will be seeing Alex and I referring to our phone. This was definitely a research-heavy episode, which we love. But we did want to preface that. I feel impolite looking at my phone while we're podcasting.
We're paying attention.
We're paying attention.
More so now than ever.
Literally. But we did some crazy research. We both went in for a few hours, and I fucking loved it. This topic is something I've always been curious about, always, worried about, to be honest, for, my own reasons. And then now after doing the research, I'm like, why weren't we taught this?
Yeah.
It's another one of those episodes, like kind of like the period episode where I'm like, why don't we at least know a little bit of this?
Right. The way that society, like the way that we live our lives, if you can't tell by the title, we're talking about alcohol.
Right.
And the way that society sets up drinking alcohol to be so normal.
Yeah.
Especially for our generation. I think with Gen Z, it's changing a little bit.
For sure.
But with our generation, and especially our parents' generation, it's so normal. And like with that, why isn't it taught the way that it like actually affects you?
Like literal science.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to just, before we hop into everything, we do want to throw out that like what we're talking about today is not to sway you to stop drinking. I mean, I don't even like, yeah, I feel some type of way after this research, but like, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm never going to drink again. Like that's
right.
Your journey is your journey. And as always, these episodes are just resources for you. If you're curious about a topic and you want to learn more, obviously, as always, we are not doctors. This is fully just research we've done. And we'll tell you where we got our sources and everything. But yeah, I just really wanted to nail that. Like in no way are we, demonizing alcohol or telling you to stop drinking. It's just, these are all facts that we enjoyed learning. So we'll share with you guys. Okay. So for starters, I kind of just wanted to dive into what this episode came from. The other day, Alex and I were sitting right here.
As we do
on and off camera. And we were just talking about alcohol.
I feel like we always have our like spark conversations in the morning.
Yes.
It kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's either like we don't talk about anything in the morning or it's this really revolutionary.
And he talks to you.
Yeah. Really revolutionary conversation that we have. And it's always new. Yeah. I don't know.
It was kind of, it stemmed from literally seeing someone's Instagram story and then turned into like, oh my God, we need to talk about this on the podcast.
Yeah.
But, we'll save details because that's not the point of the episode. We ended up talking about our relationships with alcohol, how we feel towards our personal alcohol consumption and much more. And we've definitely talked about it on the podcast. You guys roughly know how we feel towards alcohol, especially I feel like beginning of season 3, when we had just moved to New York, we were expressing to you guys how kind of heavily we were drinking and how we want to start doing things that don't involve alcohol and so on. And
I feel like New York made us face our relationship with alcohol, whereas
completely.
LA, it kind of wasn't a question.
No.
Like we would just drink when we would go out and be social. But then when we moved to New York, it turned into such a
it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, lifestyle thing and like so consistent.
Right.
That we were kind of forced to sit down and be like, hold on. Reassess.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. I've always been, and I'm sure several people can relate, coming from a heavy bloodline of alcoholics, I have always been very conscious of it. And, it's never necessarily been like, oh, I need to stop myself. Like, it's not like that heavy of a consciousness. It's just, it's always been in my mind since before I even started drinking.
It's a level of awareness that you have that a lot of people our age don't.
Exactly. And I can pick up signs of like certain types of drunks because I was raised around them, and it's like straight up, it's a trigger where I'm like, I could tell, like it's hard to put in words, but I've said it to you, like there's types of drunks when you could tell someone's just partying, when they're masking something, when they're angry, when they're sad, like I can just fully pick up on it.
You see where it comes from.
Completely. It's right there, crystal clear for me. So I've always kind of just been conscious of it. And the way that's reflected my personal relationship with alcohol is like, I really only drink for celebration purposes. I've never been one to, have a glass of wine on after a long day, or a drink or a beer or anything. I've never really been someone to use alcohol as a wind down tactic. No pun intended, where I know that is such a common use for alcohol across the board, no matter what your relationship is with alcohol. I feel like a lot of people wind down with it. Right. And that's just kind of never been a thing for me. So I don't know, this whole topic is kind of interesting because I'm coming at it with a very, not a big love for alcohol. I don't know.
Like your relationship has been consistent in that way your whole life, where I feel like mine might be a little different because growing up, I have a lot of alcoholics in my family, but my immediate household growing up, it was always such a social thing for my parents. My parents would go out and drink on the weekends, and that was always that. And I didn't drink until I think I had my first beer when I was like 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it was my 18th birthday.
Buca de Beppo.
Yes.
We duct tape her tits down. Remember that?
Oh my God. Yes. And I felt so cool because my mom let me drive her Audi.
Yes.
And we were driving through the city.
Oh my God. And the top was, it was like taupe, but like acid wash.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I fully remember your outfit.
I still had that.
You just got rid of it. I feel like you had it for a minute.
I had it up into my 20s for sure.
Yeah. Not the point. Sorry. Anyway, you had your first sip at 18.
Oh yes. And even when I turned 21, I wasn't like much of a drinker, but then I got into a relationship, and the whole like scene of craft breweries and beer drinking and craft beers really took me under its wing.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk for years. Literally lost her to the craft brewery.
I had never liked hard alcohol for a lot of my like early 20 years.
Yeah.
And actually Scott got me into gin.
Right. I was gonna say up until literally you started hanging around Scott and I.
Yep. But for those early 20 years, I was a big beer drinker. On the weekends, it would like my parents, it was a social thing. And then I had told you about this when we had this conversation the other morning, but there was one time I was probably like 22 or 23. I was living with my boyfriend at the time, but I had went to my parents' house after work one day, and they had a sour beer in their fridge, and I was like, ooh, okay, it's like 6 p.m. summertime on a Wednesday. I'm gonna crack open this beer. And I was by myself. Well, I was like alone.
You weren't with like homies.
I wasn't. Yeah, I was with homies.
You weren't socializing.
I wasn't socializing. My mom was home, but I cracked open the beer and I was like watching TV, winding down with my beer, and my mom walks downstairs and she sees me and she's like, "Are you drinking a beer?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was in the fridge. Like that's fine, right?" And she was like, "Yeah, okay." And then she like walks upstairs and doesn't say anything, but then comes back like 20 minutes later and is like, I'm not trying to like nag or mom you in any way, but me and your dad always made it a point to not drink in front of you and your brother on the weekdays, because that's when it shows somewhat of a habitual nature. And to sit here and see you drinking a beer on your own, I just want you to like clock it. Alcoholism runs heavily in my family. I just want you to think about like what habitually you're doing right now.
I love that.
And I sat back and I was like, whoa, you're right. Like I don't need this beer right now.
Yeah.
Or do I? Like,
sure.
It made me question like why I actually sat down and drank the beer.
I bet.
So ever since then, I kind of made it a thing to not drink on the weekdays.
Yeah.
Mostly. So that kind of like was my first spark of my relationship with alcohol.
Yep.
And then I think going into my like later 20s, after I turned 25 and I started drinking liquor, that's when it like really changed. And there had been a few times where like I got too drunk and I didn't know my levels of alcohol. And that whole thing made me like re-question my relationship with alcohol. I've always kind of questioned like why I drink, what I drink, how I am when I drink.
Right.
And I think recently in the past couple of years is when I really started to like sit down and not only question it, but like understand that, okay, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my my drunks and my like getting too drunk and my bad habits when I am drunk aren't like anything I'm proud of.
Sure.
And
like why put yourself through that
right,
if you're not proud of it?
Right.
Thank you for sharing that, because that's like exactly what I feel like we're trying to put across in this episode is like, again, we're not telling you to stop drinking, do what you want. It's, it's your fucking life. But these are our stories and the kind of our journey. And we are aware that a lot of our generation and the generation under us right now are sober curious. That's the term you're seeing going around right now, because there's so many stories like that where people are like,
it's okay to be like,
yeah,
it's okay to question what you're doing and just kind of like reevaluating what you're doing it for. Because I felt like I was just drinking just because everyone else was drinking. Yes. And it was the social norm. And I'm, as you guys know, I'm not a weed smoker, and like that's something that I probably will never pick up. But
Darn.
Alcohol, I got away. I know, seriously. I fucking wish.
No, me too.
Alcohol, I got away with it because like you could go out, it's so accessible, you're socialite. Like I'm even a social butterfly when I'm drunk, and I felt like it fit, but then I started to realize, hold on, maybe it's not fitting.
Right. Like, what does fitting mean?
Right.
That you're just numbing something?
Exactly. And it's I'm forcing it to work for me when I never questioned, hold on, maybe alcohol isn't my thing.
Yeah. You nailed it with the societal aspect. And that's such a big part of some of the research I did is there's so many aspects that go into how somebody becomes a habitual drinker. And yes, it has to do with, you know, alcoholism and your genes or your personal habits yourself, but it's also the environment you grow up in, the culture. Yeah. Culture's such a big thing that I feel like we're like totally missing right now. Like there's so many factors, so it can be hard to control. Yep. And that's why I feel like it's so important to at least be aware of what it's doing to your person, regardless of what's going on around you.
Exactly.
If that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah, my first sip of alcohol was very young. I would say I was probably like 11 or 12. Not good. I drank a lot. I drank and I did drugs a lot at a very young age, and I did it up until like heavily. I'll say I did it up until like 17, and then recreationally after that. And obviously I didn't think shit of it at that age because you're just like, well, I'm partying, whatever. But I did remember feeling like watching my mom drink, knowing I just had a crazy night the other night, and like looking at what she's drinking and just being like, like that kind of sounds good right now. Like I would have those thoughts every now and then, oh, bless you, but never acted on it. Like at that age, I was never drinking at home or anything. And I will say, like, of all, you know, I might poke at my mom sometimes on this podcast, but one thing she would never let fly is me drinking in the house. I know she wouldn't, even though she was drinking. Like I know she would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get that out of here. She was a beer drinker though, and still is. Like beer is her go-to, and surprisingly it like from the jump curbed how I felt about beer. So when I was drinking, like vodka, Malibu, Sky, like Pinnacle, all the gross I hate to call it kid alcohol, but like adolescent alcohol, cheap alcohol. And I was always so like turned off by beer though. It's just like, I don't know. It's always gross to me. And then, like I said, 17, it kind of faded out. And I drank for my 21st. I would have like nights here and there around that age, but like nothing crazy. And then when I got into my last relationship, we definitely drank a lot. I mean, our whole friend group was very social, and it was fun, and it just like came with the lifestyle that you had. 100%. And I did enjoy it, and at that time I was only doing it on weekends. And then where I kind of like clocked myself and had like the aha moment that you're speaking of, you know, I kind of hate to bring it to like a vanity level, but I honestly just noticed I started gaining a lot of weight. And I was like, what's going on? Like, am I okay? I started wondering if it was like my thyroid, because it's such a different type of weight. Because I was noticing it in my face, and I was like, is this like, I think it's called like moon face. It's like a thyroid thing. And it wasn't, and it was alcohol. So I started like weeding out, not drinking as much. And then I started coming back to my natural weight, and I was like, oh wow, like that. It turned into like a health problem for me. Right. And which totally fucking tracks, because like
it gave you that lens that's like kind of set you up to how you view alcohol now.
Yes. And my digestion was so bad back then, but I never tested it to alcohol. Is what I'm trying to get to here is like my digestion was shit. My skin was shit. My mood was shit. What I was craving like food wise was literal like junk food. Like it was the snowball effect physically that I was like, okay, something's got to give. I never have like cut alcohol cold turkey. That's like personally something I've never really felt. It was a boundary I never felt the need to set for myself, but I did just like decide that like, I don't want to, you know, like I don't, this totally links up with you. Like having that extra beat of just being like, do I need to do this right now?
Right.
That's kind of where it started for me. And then that's how it's been for the past few years. Okay, so that's the gist of our personal relationships with alcohol at the moment. And then now I kind of want to just get into the research that Alex and I both did. I'm going to be breaking down what alcohol is actually doing to your body, what it does to your brain, what happens when you're drunk, and how you feel drunk, and what feeling drunk even means. And then
I went in on like the different alcohols, mixing the different alcohols, what different alcohols how they can affect your drunk. And then I also went in on mixing alcohols with drugs, because I feel like a big thing in our early 20s at least was using alcohol as kind of like a vehicle for,
it was like foreplay.
Yes.
Foreplay for drugs.
Exactly.
It's very common.
We're going to go into that a little bit.
Okay, so the podcast I listened to when just kind of doing a little bit of research, it was Andrew Huberman, What Alcohol Does to Your Body, Brain, and Health, the Huberman Lab podcast, number 86. So the second I turned it on, I was like, why is his voice so familiar? And then he started talking about, which I'll get into in a little bit, he started talking about the microbiome and kombucha. And I was like, why is this so familiar? Months ago, you and I were on our way to dinner and we were in an Uber.
Okay. I know exactly what you're about to say. Why have I had this whole thing in my voice, in my head this whole time?
Yes, that's him. I was like, wait, why do I feel like I've listened to this podcast? Alex and I were driving like 20 minutes to dinner one night.
And our Uber driver was listening to this podcast.
This exact episode.
And you know what? I don't know if you're going to touch on it because I didn't read your notes. But one thing that he said that helps hangovers, I do when I have a hangover and it works.
Yes. And yes, I am going to touch on it because when I was writing it, I was like, Alex does this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? I was like, why is this so familiar? He's so cool. I know nothing about him. I know literally nothing about him. Literally listened to one episode.
You know, he is cool.
He's just so cool. And like, I was just geeking the whole time listening to this. Like, you could tell he's obviously so fucking passionate and like so smart, but not like make you feel stupid smart.
He's a doctor?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure. I hope. I don't know. Oh my God. It's just,
he knows what he knows.
He's so cool. And it's just such a good episode. So go listen to it. I'm definitely saying a lot of what he said, but go listen to it from a smarter person, from a smarter perspective. Okay. So a lot of the points he makes, he does preface that all the effects that I'm about to talk about is referring to someone who you can drink, one drink at night every day of the week, or someone who's going out Friday, Saturday, Sunday and having 6 drinks those 3 days. He really does kind of hone in on the fact that like it's not about the amount, it's just the fact that your body has alcohol in it that often. So try and look at it that way. This is no means to like diagnose yourself of anything, but he did keep saying like, again, this doesn't matter if you're he called it a chronic drinker or one glass of wine every night. Like, this is still happening. He did kind of make it seem like every once in a while you're fine of these
everything in
symptoms.
moderation.
Yes, but like he's like every once in a while.
We've turned moderation into
exactly. Like, that's what's kind of crazy is like listening to that podcast, I was like, wait, I'm over here thinking I'm like a light drinker because I only drink like on the weekends every like 2 weeks. Right. That's still not good for you.
If you think about consistently what your body is doing chemical wise and the ups and downs it has to go through and like the recovery phases, it's quite often.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
And let's just get into it. Okay, so let's just start with the second you sip the alcohol. Your first sip, doesn't matter how big of a drink it is, the second it hits your bloodstream. So this can take literally like 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes quicker depending on what you ate that day, your weight, your genes, there's so many factors. I feel like I want to preface that with like everything I'm about to say. So many factors that can adjust the severity of what's about to happen, but generally 5 to 10 minutes and you start feeling it. So it goes right to your blood, and he called it a BBB, blood-brain barrier. The alcohol in your blood just crosses that barrier like a breeze, which isn't typically easy for toxins to do in the body.
Oh.
But the reason it becomes so easy is because the alcohol is affecting your frontal lobe and letting all your guards down.
Right.
So it's your prefrontal cortex. Sounds so sciencey.
Cortex.
Cortex, latex. It shuts down very quick. And this is when you start slurring. And you start wanting to dance and you start wanting to like move your body because you start becoming like the part of your brain that tells you to like literally chill is off. So you're like, let's dance.
Right.
People start talking louder because I'm butchering. I don't know the name of any of things scientifically, but like the part of your brain that adjusts like your volume socially.
Whoa.
Gets down. So,
oh my God, I feel like that affects me so much.
Yes. No, same. I feel like I get so loud. Yes. And then the next day your throat's sore because you've literally been yelling all night.
Wait, Bree's like this.
Yes.
Bree will always wake up with no voice.
No voice.
Literally can't talk.
Yes, because she gets she'll wake up,
loud.
She'll be like, oh my God, her hangovers are so bad too. God, she needs to listen to this episode. Actually, don't. We talked about her gifts. But yeah, so all of that just like goes out the window. It also affects your impulsive motor behaviors and your thought patterns. So this is where you say things you don't necessarily want to say.
Amen.
What is it like? Hallelujah. The drunk thoughts or sober words.
Oh.
Like that whole spiel.
Drunk words or sober thoughts.
Drunk words or sober thoughts. How do you feel about that?
Yes.
Drunk words or sober thoughts?
Yeah. I feel like I think
it depends who.
But if the science says that it brings down the wall to let everything that's inside spill, I'm in the front of the gate.
Yeah. I guess like, I don't know if I've ever said something that I didn't mean drunk.
Yeah.
But you hear that a lot. But is that just an excuse that people use?
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
So now we have facts. Now we have like literal proof.
Yeah.
If someone send them this episode, if they try to be like, oh, I didn't mean it, I was drunk. Actually, your prefrontal cortex
tells me otherwise.
Compromised.
Yeah. You don't know how many times I've said some funny shit or stupid shit or out of pocket shit. And I'm like, okay, yes, this was going on in my head, but Alex, you shouldn't have said it out loud.
Right.
That's why it's all there and it's all true in my head. It might not be like true factual statements, but it's all like opinions in my head.
Yeah.
They didn't come out of, they weren't fabricated from nothing.
Right.
And a lot of them for me, I've noticed are subconscious. And like the next day, I'll still not know why I said that.
And then you learn later it like came from
from a different meaning, deeper shit. So
yeah. No, I get that.
So that tracks.
After learning all this, I was like, people were like, oh, it's the alcohol talking. No, it's not.
No, it's the alcohol is the vehicle.
Yeah.
The alcohol is why it came out, but
but it came out.
It came from somewhere.
Your consciousness.
yes, or subconsciousness.
Right.
Because I will advocate that, like,
for sure.
Like I said, a lot of the times I say shit, and the next day I'm like, I actually don't know why I said that, and I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
But I can connect the dots.
Yes, that's big to admit too. Yeah. A lot of people won't even fucking admit that. So after learning what it does to your brain, and I'll get more into it in a sec, I learned that it takes 2 to 6 months for your brain to actually like get back to normal.
Okay. So like I was saying earlier, how you and we feel like we don't have such a consistent relationship with alcohol because we do have like 2-week breaks here and there, and we feel like we're recovering. We're not actually recovering.
Well, you've started the process, but then we're just drinking again 2 weeks later and you're dumping the same thing. And over time, these neurocircuits are getting compromised and can actually have permanent effects with, again, that's with like, as he called, chronic drinkers, and it depends on so many other factors, but it can become permanent.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's terrifying.
That's been the scariest part of all this for me is like,
am I too far gone?
I mean, I don't think so, but like,
it was rhetorical, but
right. I was like, we could talk about it. Like, let me sit in my lap. Like, you're good.
It's a new question in my head.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I've been questioning after reading all this too. I'm like, is it worth potentially causing permanent damage? And then so as I'm doing the research, I asked myself that, right? But think about also all the stupid shit you do drunk that also causes permanent damage.
Right.
Like drunk drivers.
Yes.
I mean, sure, that's a bigger scale, but it happens every 15 minutes, someone dies in a drunk driving accident.
There's so much more beyond the physical and mental repercussions of alcohol that aren't talked about enough.
Exactly.
And like, where's your, like, what's the worth it part?
The rush and
the literal dopamine.
Yeah. Well, no, there's none of that. It's just I'll get into it.
Okay.
So to your dopamine point and the big argument that like people think alcohol gives them serotonin is not true to an extent. So what happens is your whole like panel of mood circuits in your brain become hyperactive. So it just becomes this like rapid cycle, and that's why like you want to keep drinking, because like it's like spiking and then it comes down pretty quick because it's not a quality resource of that circuit function, and then you get another drink and it spikes back up.
So that's a lot of the research I did. I read this like one specific article, and they talk about the euphoric state, and like that's the up and then the down and the spikes and the down. That's the euphoria,
and that's the underlying one of many underlying reasons of like why you keep drinking, and
the crave,
like the binging and the crave, and so yeah, you're putting your mood circuit through all of this up and down all night. We'll refer it to like one night going out, and then the next day when you're hungover, you have your anxiety, you're stressed out, and stress is like, it's so much more than anxiety as far as what's going on in your brain. So alcohol affects the hypothalamus.
I feel like I remember this word from science class.
Hypothalamus. It is a large gumball size of neurons in the roof of your mouth. You can't feel it.
I was gonna say I can kind of feel it.
Damn near yours is like out. You're just like protruding. It controls rage, sex drive, your body temperature regulation, appetite, thirst, and so much more. It's like such an essential part of the human. And then you have a pituitary gland that actually I don't think it's a gland. It's literally just called a pituitary. It actually sticks out of your brain, and it receives instructions from the hypothalamus. And then the little gland coming out of your head releases hormones to send messages to your adrenals, which control your stress levels, your cortisol, which is good. And those sit right above your kidneys and your lower back. I don't know about you, but my back has hurt the next day after drinking.
Absolutely.
And that's scary. But that's what's happening. And also
your
kidneys.
Oh my God, your poor adrenal glands.
No, literally the whole time he's explaining this, I was like, oh, these little guys are just working so hard.
And they're so mad at us.
They're super tired, and we're not doing anything to give them a break. Exactly. And like, that's why I'm like, just drink some water. And I'm like, you guys like that? Is that like, literally, I am humanizing every part of my body at this point.
Because it is a human.
Well, but you know what I mean? Like, they all have faces. Like, that's right, the line.
That's the level. That's the level I'm at.
So yeah, the hypothalamus talks to the pituitary, and the pituitary sends hormones to the adrenals, controlling your stress levels. The HPA, which is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is that streamline I just explained. It maintains the balance of what you perceive as stressful or not. So that's also kind of why, like, another reason your judgment is very fogged when you're drinking, because that is
they're not communicating HPA correctly.
It's sure, like, they're firing, but it's like, with what integrity? Like, you're again, like, that wall's down. You're way more lenient because everything's just like working at the bare minimum.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh my God, the pituitary gland is so cute to me.
Did you see pictures of it?
No. No, I cannot. But I feel like he's just sitting off in my brain like, hey, adrenal! I got some stress over here. What you gonna do about this? He's like, fuck. He's so stressed.
Super stressed out.
And I feel like the hypothalamus is just like, I'm hungry.
He's like, no.
I'm hungry.
Yep. He works at DMV.
Yes, he does. He wears a short sleeve white polo.
Yep.
Short sleeve.
But like fun ties. But like, doesn't address them.
Yes.
He doesn't address his fun ties.
No.
Everyone else does, and he's like, why do you
what?
keep talking about my ties?
It just got dressed today. Like, what?
Yep.
Oh, he's so cute. So, like I was saying, someone who's a regular drinker, you're putting your body through this cycle very often so that HPA, a hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, is being put so out of whack so often that now when you're sober, your stress levels are just out of whack. I don't want to necessarily say higher or lower because it definitely depends, but they are not operating at a normal function.
Whoa.
So that's why typically a drinker, you know, like we were saying, after a long day, I need a drink.
That's
you
what it's
want
doing.
The alcohol to go back and
because now this
try and
HPA
regulate.
has that's its new normal.
Yeah, that's the thing is all these neurocircuits, all these things happening with alcohol. Your body is so smart, but not smart enough to know that it's like necessarily the bad thing because like your consciousness is putting the beer to your mouth, not your HPA.
Right.
But it's just gonna adapt is what I'm trying to say. It's gonna adapt to what you give it, and then it's gonna crave what you give it. And if what you're giving it is bad, then
That's
you
the
know
new
where this
normal.
is going. Right. So that's why I need a drink. Like,
Oh my God.
I know. Okay, so that's how it's affecting stress. But then, as I said, one of my big kind of symptoms, if you will, anytime I have alcohol, even damn near even like one drink, my stomach starts hurting. La-di-da. We all know I have stomach problems at this point. So
La-di-fucking-da.
La-di-da.
You've never said that in your entire life.
I haven't.
Who are you?
Oh my God, I don't know. But sorry if you see me patting my chest right now. Alex and I had Chipotle earlier and it was so bad. I'm never going to have it again.
I'll probably never have Chipotle again.
I'm never having Chipotle again. So sorry. But let's talk about gut stuff. So, alcohol. When you, like in movies, like old Westerns, when you get a cut, they're like, pour some alcohol on it because it kills the bacteria. That's true.
Oh.
But your gut has good bacteria and it's killing that. What the hell? Duh.
Fucking duh. And I've never thought
of it. So it's killing that. It's fucking with the lining of your stomach. So now the good bacteria, if any left, this is definitely more of a severe case, but can begin, good and bad bacteria can begin to seep into outside of your stomach because that barrier is being compromised. Leaky gut. Yeah.
You heard it here first, people.
This episode is so bad. I'm so sorry, guys.
No, it's not.
But yeah, so it's affecting your gut. And just aside from like, oh, my stomach hurts the next day or like being nauseous, we all know your gut affects your mental. It's the start of your mouth to like the end of your intestine. All of that affects your brain. It all sends like messages right up to your brain, whether you're drinking alcohol or not. So that's getting compromised. Your stress levels are getting compromised, all from the same vessel. You're literally just poisoning your full body at this point. This is getting depressing. So honestly, the worst part of all this research, something that like really sent me into oblivion, was learning the predisposition, almost said features, just how like ways that you could be predisposed to alcoholism. And as we know, genes is a big one.
I pictured genes. I'm sorry, I couldn't hold it in.
You pictured genes.
I pictured
Like
the jeans
denim.
emoji.
Okay, so denim, in addition to the genetic aspect, the HPA we were talking about earlier, if your parent if their HPA is all off because they've been a heavy drinker all their life, it's as I said, your neurocircuits have that permanent damage. Now when they create you now have,
You're born with that damage.
not like mirrored, but you like, how could they build something, an HPA stronger than the one they had is what I'm trying to say. So then their children have that, I don't know what word to use, just like out of whack HPA, which in turn can lead the human to crave alcohol. This is getting fucking depressing. No, I read that and I was like, I said it to Alex. I was like, I'm super upset. Like my brain didn't even have a chance to be 100% healthy. And that's so unfair. Mm-hmm. That's so like selfish. Ugh, you know?
Yeah.
It's
I get it.
So fucked. Anyway.
I mean, especially we talked about this too, especially with that generation. it was so normal to drink alcohol so consistently that they've set up our whole generation to deal with this.
Yes.
And I think maybe that's why we are all kind of waking up to what alcohol is doing to us, because we were born kind of like forced into it.
Yes.
Born into this like natural, I'm going to put in quotes, natural reaction to alcohol.
Yeah.
And some of us are like me raising my hand. Some of us are like, wait, why do I have this relationship with alcohol? Why is it like this when other people are like this? You know, why can't I react this way? And like, why is it doing to me this? And it's like, we didn't ask for this.
Yep.
And like, maybe it is that generational thing.
Yeah. We're questioning it for the first time.
We're questioning it for the first time.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's definitely one of many things that I am like proud of our generation for doing. Is I feel like even on like a therapy note, we've done that compared to our parents, and that's cool.
Yeah,
it's definitely a big silver lining. Okay, so now we kind of have scratched the surface of what alcohol is doing the second it's touching your lips and you swallow it, and what's going to the brain and how it's affecting everything. But now let's talk a little bit about the hangover. So I definitely learned a few new things that I didn't realize were happening when you were sleeping with alcohol in your system. So a term that he introduced is called pseudo sleep, which is actually not effective sleep whatsoever. You're not hitting REM at all. It's actually a low hypnotic trance. And he said that you can even wake up in the middle of the night and not even know it.
Whoa.
And like, obviously you're not like sleepwalking, but like you're not staying in REM. And I was very shocked by that fact, because like whenever you're like hammered, you pass out.
Yeah.
Like a light.
Yep. I always assume that like I'm dead asleep.
You're just in a low hypnotic trance.
Whoa.
You're not hitting REM though.
And that makes more sense, actually.
100%. I have never, ever dreamed drunk. Ever. And that is such a tell-all for me, because I dream every night, and I have to be compromised to not dream.
Whoa.
Whether it's like, well, no NyQuil, I even dream. It's really just alcohol, because I dream with weed.
That's
surprisingly.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're not getting REM at all. And that, he said, like, that's one of the biggest, negative effects of alcohol is it affecting your sleep. Because as we all know, sleep is everything. None of these other functions in your body would even be working regardless of alcohol if you didn't have sleep, you know?
Right.
So like now you're double whamming your body by depriving it of quality sleep, in addition to all the other things that your brain and all your functions are going through because of the alcohol.
Did he mention if this was, because right now I'm picturing, or I'm like thinking back to all my like super drunk nights where I thought I was like dead asleep, but now I know that I was just in this like pseudo trance. Did he mention if this is also what happens with like one drink?
Not that I remember. He might have. I'm not sure. Again, he kept prefacing everything with like, it doesn't matter how much you drink in.
Okay.
If like alcohol is in your system.
Because I do feel like, I mean, even if I have like a glass of wine with dinner, I notice I don't sleep well.
Yes. So, I mean, I wouldn't, if all these other things are happening, like I could only imagine. Because I agree with you. Even just like, not even a full glass. I could have like a few sips and I'm like wrecked the next day. And not like hungover wrecked, because it like wasn't enough to like set off the headache, the stomach ache, none of that. But you're right. It's this like grogginess because your quality of sleep was clearly compromised.
Yep.
So obviously another big symptom of a hangover is a headache. We all know this. That's usually like the first thing to hit me. The second I open my eyes, I'm like, do I have a headache? It's there.
Yep.
It's there. But I learned it's a headache is the constriction of blood vessels, which might be duh to some people, but the blood vessels are dilated when you have alcohol. So your blood vessels have been dilated all night, talking about a night out, all night, and they're tired, they're fatigued, and then the alcohol is wearing off, so they start to go back and not be dilated anymore.
The headaches that I get, I swear to God, I'll open my eyes and I'll like wince.
Like they throb.
Yes.
Right? I don't know if that's necessarily the feeling of dilation or not. I doubt we're feeling our vessels like again, I'm not a doctor though. But yeah, no, it's a different type of headache to your point. It totally is. Like a hungover headache is like nothing else I've ever experienced before.
Nope.
He also says to reconsider an acids the next morning. Your liver's just
That's
obviously
always my go-to.
Yes, for sure. It's already working so hard though, and it's already so poisoned, and then we're putting that into our liver, and he says like, yeah, it help, like it's a band-aid, like it helps you, right. It helps like you feel better, but like as far as your bodily function, it's not the best thing.
Not doing any favors.
So he did say some things that may help our cold exposure.
And I do this. This is what we were talking about earlier. This is the bit that we actually heard in the cab. And I think we had went out drinking that day, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to try this tomorrow. And I did. And now after a night of drinking, the first thing I do is I wake up and I take a really cold shower, because it ups your adrenaline levels, right? And adrenaline is supposed to help is it the blood vessels?
So it spikes your adrenaline, and then like your adrenaline and your metabolism, which helps the processing of all the alcohol in your body. So think of it like, remember when you would blow on the pool tubes?
Yes.
And all the water, like you'd clear all the water and like the leaves out. You're essentially like, you're just moving shit along. You're like moving energy.
Wow. Because it works.
Yeah.
If that and a kombucha.
Yep. So that's step 2 is really just getting into repairing that gut microbiome, is
getting that good bacteria back in there.
Yep. Replenishing everything. And I can attest to that. Kombucha is definitely my go-to the next morning. Surprisingly haven't tried the cold shower thing. I've tried cold like therapy in other ways, but never when I'm hungover. That's kind of the last thing I want to do.
It really is the last thing.
You got to push yourself through it.
You push yourself through it, and I promise, like one time, and now it's like your safe haven.
Right. I will say though, as I mentioned earlier, alcohol does lower your body core temperature. So be mindful of that whenever doing any type of cold therapy, especially if you are still like heavily intoxicated. People, they'll hop into cold pools and stuff, and like you're shocking your body more than you think, because you're already operating at a lower temp. So just be mindful. Any like cold plunges or cold showers, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to go past I think a cold plunge, I think there's like a 6-minute club. I've seen that on TikTok, but that's when you're sober.
Right. Not when you're already compromised.
Right. Just give it even like 30 seconds. What do you do in the shower?
I feel like the longest I could possibly do is like maybe a minute or 2, but never more than that. It's always just like, I get in there, I get warm, so I'm cozy. And then I slowly lower the temperature. Okay. So it's just like, it's inches. Like,
oh, you don't shock it?
No. I'll do like low, and then I'll keep going lower. And then once it's really cold where I want to naturally step away, I'll force myself to stand there for probably, I'll stand there until I can get a steady breath, which is probably about like a minute.
Yeah. Ugh. It's so good for you though.
Oh, it's so good.
So good for you. Oh, also Mythbusters here. Or when you're drunk and like your friend's really drunk and you like give them bread, it doesn't sober them up.
No way.
No. Food it's already in your blood, unless the food's going in your blood, which is
I like to think that like placebo effect plays a big part here.
Oh my god, yeah. 100%. But what is not a myth is eating a like high protein, high fat, high healthy carb meal before drinking. It can help slow down the process of the alcohol getting into your blood.
The carbs, right?
It's equal. So people think carbs, but it's also, you need the fats and the protein to like push it.
Yeah, from the little research that I did, sugars and other nutrients like what you had just said, it slows the alcohol into the small intestine.
Oh, so it's not like,
so it's not like so it's not just like a harsh start.
That makes sense.
To shift gears a little bit, I always thought my hangovers were determined by what kind of alcohol I drank and the level of hangovers. But with my research, I found that a lot of research suggests that different alcohols actually don't have different effects on you. It's all ethanol entering your body.
Okay, I remember this.
So reactions to different types of alcohol is actually more of an external thing. And you're like predisposed, like feelings towards what the alcohol is. So like, for example,
like the reputation it has too.
Exactly. Like when we go out and we're going to have a rager, tequila shots.
Yeah.
But if we're going to be home relaxing, chilling, glass of wine.
Right.
It's like these societal bubbles that we've given these different types of alcohols that kind of put us in a headspace.
Yep.
I'm putting in quotes, give us a certain drunk.
Yeah. Makes so much sense. Oh my god, that's crazy.
It's so much more, and a lot of the research that I saw said that it's so much more of a mind thing than it is like actual alcohol.
Got it. God, humans are so silly. Our brains.
The things we do to try and connect dots and make shit up and make sense of things. It's all wrong.
It's all literally it's all wrong.
Okay, so like I said, it's that societal context that is given to alcohol. And one thing that society kind of shaped is standard drink sizes. So you have your standard shot of tequila, you have your 12 ounce of beer, you have, I don't know the exact ounces, but like your standard glass of wine, and then like your whiskey on the rocks.
Right.
It all looks different. It all you might think it might affect you different, but it's actually all 14 grams of ethanol.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's all like your standard drink size is made so that, from what I read, they say that it's made so that you could correctly like measure how much you're drinking, portion out, but because the size of the drinks are different, we think it's different, but it's not. It's all 14 grams of ethanol, pure alcohol.
This is so silly.
Yeah.
Like next time we go out, I'm literally gonna be like, give me whatever, because like it's the same shit.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Oh, this is so silly.
Oh, also there was a study done at Cardiff University that suggests that people tend to base their level of intoxication on others around them, and mostly other genders around them. So like if you're around people who are super drunk, you feel super drunk, and you think you're drunker than you actually are. And if you're around like chill people, you mask to fit that. Yep. And you say you're less intoxicated than you are, but it really is a numbers game. It's all math. You're drinking this much, that's how intoxicated you are.
Right. I relate to that like whenever I go to the bathroom on a night out.
Yep.
I either notice I'm not that drunk right now, or I notice, oh, I'm way more drunk than I thought I was.
Right.
It's because I'm alone, and those exterior factors aren't like swaying me in any which way.
And you're able to like kind of focus.
Yeah, literally.
And
I look in the mirror and I'm like, where are we at?
I really wanted to get into this research, but I didn't get a chance to. But there's been a lot of times where you and I both will be like, oh, I'm just like not getting drunk tonight. And like,
oh yeah,
there's nights where you don't feel drunk and you keep drinking. I want to know the science behind that, because it feels so real. There's been so many nights where I've gone out and I've kept up and I've had the same amount of alcohol, but I'm not picking up on the like usual effects that my drunk gives me.
Right.
So I don't feel as drunk, but I know, and like especially after this research, I know that alcohol is in my system, and I am in fact intoxicated, and my blood alcohol levels are here.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be curious to know the exact answer too, if any, but from what I researched, I feel like it could be because though, you know, that whole like HPA and all those levels are already compromised, that alcohol is just putting you back to normal. Because those nights usually happen to me when have already had a crazy weekend. That it tends to happen to me like day 3 of Coachella. I'm always like, I can't get drunk, guys.
You're
like,
right.
It's always after
the
a
heavy drinking
weekend
period. Or whatever.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the word.
You're
so
right.
I'm thinking it's because our, like what I was talking about earlier.
It thinks it's balancing itself out.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I had mentioned just a little bit ago, sugars can slow down the entry of alcohol into your small intestine, and this actually plays a role in like what kind of mixers you have with your drinks and how that affects your level of intoxication, but the speed of which you get drunk.
Got it.
So if you drink a sugary drink, the nutrients in the sugars, that could slow down your alcohol intake. That could slow down your alcohol effects. Another big one is caffeinated drinks.
Oh God, yeah. What does that do?
So caffeinated and other stimulant, which the stimulants I'll get into later, but caffeinated mixers, the energy levels that you have can mask your level of intoxication, because you're feeling the effects of the caffeination, but you're not like attributing it to the effects of your alcohol. So it's kind of like a battle game. You're getting like more and more drunk, but you're not knowing it. So you keep drinking energy. And you have this energy. And like, especially if you drink a vodka Red Bull all night, that game is just going to keep going.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because whenever I order something like caffeinated, it's usually because I need to coast. Because it's like up or downer, literally. alcohol is a depressant. Caffeine's not. We all know that, unless it gives you anxiety. And it feels like it's just like it cancels each other out.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like in my head. Yeah.
There was another study done that shows that mixing alcohol with diet beverages.
I've seen this on TikTok.
Yeah. Oh, really?
It like not the study, but people like they're like, dude, you have to drink your like Diet Coke with your alcohol. Like you get more drunk.
Yeah, it increases blood alcohol concentration, especially like on the breathalyzer.
I wonder if is it like the aspartame?
I don't know.
Like the type of sweetener, because I guess it would have to be because the other sugars you said can
like natural nutrients, right?
But like it's probably the chemical.
Probably.
Because your thing said just diet.
Yeah, diet beverages.
It's for sure the like aspartame and shit.
Wow.
Ew. My French teacher in high school, I had him after lunch and he would always like let you bring your snacks in, you finish your bag, your whatever. But he would always like stop you at the door if you had like something other than water and look at the ingredients. And if it had aspartame, he made you throw it out.
Sick.
You could bring in anything else though. Anything like totally fine. But aspartame, he's like, no, you can't drink that in front of me.
What a guy.
What a guy.
Of course, a French teacher.
Right. He's with the shits. He still says happy birthday to me on Facebook every year.
Really?
Yep.
Aww.
Mr. Altschul.
What a cool guy.
Shout out.
Okay, I'm going to talk for a minute about congeners. So congeners are a chemical that is created during the fermentation and the distillation process of making alcohol, and it contributes to the taste, the color, and the aroma of alcohol. Some common ones are furfural, which inhibits yeast, tannins that are found in wine, fusel oil from the fermentation of whiskey and rum. I'm going to butcher this. Acetaldehyde, methanol, which is found in higher quantities in darker liquors. Methanol.
Meth.
Sure.
Literally meth.
The thing with congeners is that there's so many different kinds. So like we know our bodies don't react well to this, but there's been so many studies that are inconclusive because there's so many different kinds that we don't know like what effect they're actually having on us.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's terrifying that like we know they're doing something bad to our body, but we just don't know what it is, and we don't know how to like attribute it to specific alcohols.
So just cut out alcohol altogether?
Right. So commonly more expensive and higher quality alcohols have less congeners because the like distillery process and the fermentation process is a little more like they care about it more. So it like weeds out those congeners more so.
That makes me feel better. I was scared you were going to say like, it's the same shit, but I'm over here like, I want
it's really not
high quality. So quality really is a thing in alcohol.
Yes.
Okay. But it still has those effects on you. To your brain.
Fully.
Just the quality
still
doesn't
in
mean
there.
Right.
And so the darker the liquor, the more congeners in them. So like the dark, deep flavor, high aroma liquors, those have a lot of congeners.
I want to go to like a factory.
Me too. No, a lot of this made me like, I want to see how it's made, and I want to know the exact difference between all of it. Yeah, I want to understand it. Okay, a big thing that you hear all the time is beer before liquor makes you sicker.
Right.
And it's not true.
Yeah, it is.
It's not true.
But you know it is.
Maybe on a placebo level.
Right.
But it's not true because so a lot of beer is carbonated, and that carbonation makes you feel fuller. This has less scrap that carbonation bit, Lily. This has less to do with like the order of which you drink your alcohol. It's just more so how much you're consuming.
And mixing?
And no, the mixing doesn't matter. At all.
Got it.
It's
like the volume.
So when you're drinking beer, which is often carbonated, the carbonation leads to faster alcohol absorption, which then leads to you to drink more. So you're you aren't keeping track of your intoxication levels.
It's the bubbles?
It's the carbonation.
So now like that's on a beer level. That's probably how it is with like a vodka soda too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It's like the bubbles. Interesting.
Okay, so now I'm going to get into mixing alcohol with other substances.
Drugs.
Specifically stimulants, which are commonly referred to as uppers. I'm going to talk heavily on mixing alcohol and cocaine because I feel like it's such a common thing.
Common cocktail.
Such a common cocktail. Exposure, I'm just going to like briefly throw this out. Exposure to cocaine and alcohol increases heart rate, systolic blood pressure, cortisol, and prolactic levels. Okay, so what cocaine does is it affects your reward circuitry and it prevents the reuptake of dopamine, which leads to prolongation of the pleasurable effects of dopamine. So you get a higher increase of these reward effects when you mix alcohol and cocaine. Because these stimulants increase your heart rate, this causes your body to need more oxygen, but alcohol slows your breathing and reduces your oxygen supply, which can result in respiratory failure. But like when your body needs to be functioning a certain way based off of the effects of alcohol, you're giving it cocaine, which is doing the opposite effect to it.
Right. Yeah. It's literally like the other side of the spectrum.
Exactly. So when people often think these things cancel each other out, they're actually fighting against each other.
Yeah, people always think it like sobers you up.
Right, but it's not. It's your body's trying to regulate.
Yep.
So the more you do coke, you build up this tolerance, and because you have this tolerance, you're constantly seeking that euphoria. So you do coke even more. Because when you mix alcohol and cocaine, you get a higher level of these reward effects. It's that chase again. So you're feeding into this low tolerance. So
it's like this, it's the snowball effect of kind of what I was saying with just alcohol, where now those levels are low.
Right.
How it affects your stress. When you're sober, you're more stressed because you're still recovering. Your cortisol levels are still recovering from the alcohol. It seems like it's the same thing with another addictive substance,
right?
Even though it's not alcohol and it's on the other side of the spectrum as far as an upper. It's like you're just changing that standard, that bar of function for your body.
Yeah.
And then it's craving whatever it takes to get back to it. Because our bodies are really smart.
Right.
Like so smart. This even happens with foods. Like not even like substances anymore. Like sugar's a big one. And I've also heard that cocaine has the same effects on the brain as sugar does.
That tracks.
Right. And like even like junk food, like I don't know about you guys, if I eat a lot of junk food, then I crave it more, and then I crave it more, and then I crave it more. It's because like your body's just itching to get back to whatever it gave you, whether it was dopamine or whatever. I couldn't think of another one right there, but like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's just your body is smart enough to do that, which is actually mind-blowing to me.
Right. So you're doing all this cocaine and you have all these pleasurable effects of dopamine. And because when you mix alcohol with the coke, these reward effects increase, you're like, oh, so when I drink, I feel this euphoria longer. So I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing coke. And then when I want to keep my euphoria high, I drink another drink.
Yes.
And then it's just like this tit for tat thing where you're like, okay, another one to keep that euphoria levels high.
It's literally, if I'm understanding this correctly, like rewarding a dog. Mm-hmm. When they go potty where they need to go potty, you give them a treat.
Yes.
So then they go back there to get the treat again.
So it's so crazy that you're using this, because this study let me tell you where I got all this information about the alcohol and cocaine. This was a study called Alcohol Interactions with Psychostimulants, an overview of animal and human studies. It's by Yusuf S. Althobadi and Yusuf Sari. So they did a study on rats, and they found that when the rats were administered cocaine, they were more likely to seek out where they administer alcohol. So the more cocaine that they gave the rats, the more likely that rat was looking for alcohol and wanting more alcohol. It's like they're so closely correlated.
Yeah.
One needs the other when you mix them. It's terrifying.
I'm just imagining like a little rat like fiending.
No, that's
give me a drink.
Yes, it's exactly how it is. We are the rats.
Yeah.
Also, you had mentioned being genetically predisposed for alcohol.
Yep.
Similarly, you could be genetically predisposed for cocaine if you have that predisposition for the alcohol dependence already.
That makes sense. Okay. Like you said, the whole rat thing, like they were just,
you're just looking for it. Yeah.
Sick. Check that box.
Right. Okay. So what's actually happening is mixing ethanol, alcohol, and cocaine leads to the production of, it's called cocathylene, which is what further increases the stimulation of dopamine.
Cocathylene.
Cocathylene.
I want to know what that is on a molecular level. Like, is that ethanol plus the?
I think so, because
and they like make their own.
Yeah, I believe so. But what's really crazy is there was a study of cocothyline in wastewater in specific cities.
Sick.
And they were using that as like actual evidence and proof of cocaine and alcohol co-abuse in these specific areas.
Wow.
And they actually found that the cocothyline levels were higher on weekends.
Oh my God. They literally just did one giant drug test in everybody's pee.
Yes.
Is that legal? They like allowed to do that?
I don't know.
I guess
Probably
wastewater.
not. Is anything legal?
Nope. Coke's not. Yeah.
Don't do coke.
No. God. Fuck.
Okay. So pretty similarly, I also touched a little bit of my research on alcohol and MDMA, our good friend Molly. So MDMA it induces a rapid spike of dopamine and then a strong fall, but alcohol keeps that level high.
Keeps you coasting.
So that's why mixing both leads you to that longer duration of euphoria. That's why, like, when back in our Molly days in Coachella, we would literally throw the Molly into a Heineken. We would drink it with that hope of that big spike, and then the alcohol would like carry us through, so our dopamine levels don't drop suddenly.
Yeah.
You just need that coast.
I always looked at it as like, when the Molly hits, if it hits too hard, I'll have the alcohol to keep me calm.
But it's just keeping that dopamine at a constant level so that you're not feeling the fall.
Right. Or the anxiety.
Right.
Oh my God, this is awful.
So long-term consumption of both can lead to a serotonin depletion. So that's that high highs and the really low lows. Like that's why after
the come down,
the week after Coachella, you think you're coming down from like, oh, busy weekend out in the desert, but like you're actually coming down from all of that drug use.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this is getting a little heavy. I'm sorry. But let me briefly touch on what mixing two depressants could look like. Xanax is a big one. Xanax slows down your nervous system activity, and mixing these two depressants can actually increase each other's side effects.
Oh God.
So when you're slowing down your nervous system and like nothing is working when you're drinking alcohol, you pop a Xanax and you're even more so in that comatose state.
Yeah.
And that's where like that over sedation can occur, and it could lead to more serious things like cardiac arrest, consciousness loss, and maybe even possibly respiratory depression. So you're forcing your body into these states, and you're basically doubling it when you're mixing two depressants.
Oh my God. So your body can't even like regulate and try and recover from one of the things because
it thinks it needs to be there because you're doubling down on it.
Like seeing little faces on my organs again, and I just feel so bad for them. This is, I have to admit, this is really getting my health anxiety
I was going to say, you doing like all that research, even last night, that had to have been pretty tough.
It was, but it's one of those things, and this happens with some topics, like it's facts.
Yeah.
I have to face it.
It's
like,
better.
either way.
It's better to know all of this.
Exactly.
Because this kind of knowledge could set us up for a healthier lifestyle.
Exactly.
In the future.
Right. And even just hearing like the point where I said like the neurocircuits can replenish themselves within like 2 to 6 months, depending on the human. I was like, okay, I'm fine. All right, I'll be fine. Like I'm, whatever. But that's exactly why we wanted to do this episode. It's to just be aware of what you're doing. Do what you want, but I think it just at least being aware of what's happening is key, and then make your own decision based off what you already know. But I don't know. I think as I get older, I'm less okay with living in ignorance. Yeah. And being naive to these things I'm putting my body through.
If this information was like handed to me on a silver platter when I was 18 or 21 or whatever, I think I would have been way less likely to drink.
Absolutely. Like without a doubt. It's tough that it's not just taught to us, because I feel like it's our right to know these things. Yeah. This is, I mean, like I said earlier, this is exactly how I felt in the period episode. I'm like, why did I have to seek out this information?
Right.
But like, I know all these other random things that I learned in biology that I don't fucking even know to say to you as an example right now, because it's out one ear.
Right.
Because it doesn't apply to me unless I went to medical school, sure. But like, like, do you guys remember DARE?
Right.
Why wasn't there just a 20-minute conversation? Doesn't need to be this whole like hour and something long podcast, but because it's kids, It needs to be digestible, but make a pretty little diagram of like ethanol, then it goes to the BBB, brain blood barrier or whatever thing that I was saying. Then the HPA, like give me a cute little diagram of that as a kid.
Just to know.
Just at least try to give the youth this information. I don't know.
It's almost like the way we were taught alcohol is bad for us was almost thrown into the same category that like a cheeseburger from McDonald's is bad for us.
Yes.
You say it's bad, but it tastes good and it leads to fun times. Yep. And it's good for the soul, and it's okay to participate in it as a society, and there's no immediate repercussions.
Yes. There is.
Sometimes, yeah.
But I get you.
But the way that it's presented to us, there's no immediate repercussions.
Yep. No, 100%.
It's all fun and games, and it's all thrown into this one category. But then it's like, hold on, those are two such drastically different things. Why aren't they given the correct definitions and
the same
effects?
level of caution too?
Yeah, the levels of cautions that are deserving of these things that are having this like such harmful effects to our bodies.
Right. And then I feel like society is completely villainized like shrooms and hallucinogens like that. I'm not necessarily endorsing that. I'm not a doctor, but like we're so caught up on that. But
even weed.
Like, yes. but then we're glorifying alcohol consumption. It's hot. It's rich.
Yep.
It's royal. It's like, like champagne on a rooftop. It's luxury. But it's 14 grams of ethanol and all of that. And it's all just doing the same thing to us. But we're like, Ugh. And I mean, we're saying this right now, but you're looking at two people that lean into it too. Like we're not sitting here harping on you. Like it's more so I'm sitting here like, wow.
We're coming to this realization right now, like as we speak, last night when we had this idea for this episode. Right. So like we wanted to bring it to you guys because we felt like we were being held back from this information.
Literally.
So I don't know. And we feel like we have somewhat of a platform to maybe inform other people in some way.
And I want to leave you guys with, it was actually a comment on the YouTube video of the podcast. I wish I got their name. I didn't see, but it was like super thumbs up. It says, changing the drinking culture starts with accurate, unbiased, non-emotional information. That's it. That's all. And like when I read that, I was like, that's exactly why we want to do this episode. It's purely just to get it out there.
I feel like we always end our episodes with, well, that was a fun episode. This is different,
cold hard truth,
and eye-opening and kind of alarming. And I'm gonna be really fucking real with you guys. It's so hard because I'm sitting here and I have all this information now, and I'm like, ooh, I could really change right now. I don't want to drink. But then I'm also sitting here and I'm like, but Bree's birthday's next week and we're going to be in Joshua Tree.
No, I've had that thought too, Alex.
And like, I want to have a gin and tonic while we're sitting by the pool.
I know. It's
how do you balance that?
Crazy that this episode is not making me want to stop cold turkey.
Like, what do we have to do to get ourselves to actually stop if that's what you want, right? If that's what you see for yourself, if this information is like affecting you in a certain way to where you don't want to keep doing this to your body, what's the push?
Yeah, I feel like that's just like another primal instinct too, where we're like, if I can't right now like physically see or feel a problem with it, it's going to be hard to turn off to
attribute it to an issue.
Right. Yeah. Even though we just did all this research
and we just like laid out all the facts.
Literal facts, studies. Like there's no way around it. I'm still
facts, no printer.
But I'm right. But I'm not sitting here like, but it's not happening to me. I'm not like,
no, there's no
saying it's not happening to me. It's more so like, but I'm fine.
Right. But the drink by the pool, Bree's birthday weekend, and the celebratory aspect of it is much better than the negative effect it's having on me right now.
It's just we're going for the quick, immediate gratification rather than, okay, but if we stop drinking in our late 20s, we might live longer. There was actually a whole section of the Andrew's podcast, First Name Basis, about the increased chances of certain types of cancer. And I skipped over it. I have to be 100% honest with you guys. I did want to incorporate it in here, but like I started getting pretty fucking anxious and like, I couldn't do it. So go read that. But I guess alcohol can do that. So heads up.
Yeah, it's like, when does it fucking stop?
I don't know. With you, like right now I say like, oh, I won't drink or anything. And I kind of don't feel like I will, because I have been looking at Joshua Tree as more of like a relaxing vacation.
But we're also sitting here, like, we planned a whole fun beer pong game for all of us. Like,
Right.
I
forgot about that.
Yeah, like,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. We're just, but that's okay. That's just where
We'll
we're
keep you
at.
updated.
We'll keep you updated. Yeah. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope that makes you guys feel less of like a,
Yeah.
we don't want to sit on here and be like, stop drinking alcohol.
And we don't want to,
because we're
feel
no
shitty.
angels.
No, I don't want you to, I don't want you to feel shitty for where you're at with your relationship with alcohol either. Like, that's not for us to judge, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah. If you follow us on Patreon, we do episodes every Friday. For this week, for this episode, I guess I kind of want to just hear where you guys are at.
Yeah.
I feel like this conversation about alcohol, like me and you have it about our relationship with it and like how it affects us, but we don't really talk about it with like even any of our other friends.
That's true.
Like socially, we go out and drink with all the same people, but I never ask Joe, who's one of my closest friends. Joe's fake name, by the way.
Wait, who's Joe?
I never asked Joe, how do you actually feel about drinking alcohol right now?
Yeah.
In your life? Like, what does it mean to you? I don't know. I want to hear from you guys.
You're
like,
right.
What does alcohol mean to you guys? What's your relationship with? If you're open to sharing, have you thought about any of this kind of stuff? Have you done your own research that, I don't know, you can add to this?
What did this episode bring up for you as a whole?
Yeah.
Whether you're on our Patreon or not, we do invite anybody listening. If you're on YouTube, comment down below how you're feeling about this.
Yes.
Whatever you want to share, we love and appreciate it for sure. It's a big conversation to have. So whatever you're comfortable with, for sure. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can rate us if you want, up to 5 stars, preferably 5 stars. But we understand if it's 4. It's 5. Rate us 5 stars or nothing at all. I'm picking my gel off, guys. I'm going to get my nails done this weekend. The second I land in LA, I'm going to our old nail lady, Katie at Modern Pamper in North Hollywood. She's the best motherfucker on the planet. She's so good at Gel X. You have to go. But yeah, so I'm really excited. If you're wondering why I'm picking at my fingers so much this episode, I'm also very nervous about this, and I'm going to go drink some water. So have a lovely rest of your week.
Have a good week.
Happy late Easter, and we'll talk to you guys on Friday.
Have a good one. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.